to questions about the possibility of time travel. In Chapter 4, we will raise a puzzle that will occupy the remainder of the book. It is a puzzle about the relationship between time as it appears in physics, a mathematical abstraction with no direction or movement, and the familiar flowing time of human life, which is as messy, tension-laden, and fraught as human life itself, full of suspense and action, surprise and regret. I've put emphasis on the most interesting and philosophically intriguing parts of all of this, the parts that are still waiting to be fully assimilated and fully resolved, and the parts that make the most direct contact with time as we know it. Those are also the parts that have the most to teach us about ourselves and our place in the cosmos. This introduction is for someone who wants to dip her toe into the challenging and alien waters of what physics has taught us about time, to raise questions such as, what is the difference between time and space? What is the difference between the past and future? Does time flow? Is time travel possible? Is the passage of time an illusion? It is the kind of book that you can listen to with no prior knowledge and come away with a qualitative sense of what physics seems to be suggesting, not just about the t-parameter and mathematical formulae tracking motion, but time as you encounter it in your experience, the time of poetry and literature, the time of life itself. It is unabashedly and without embarrassment for the non-insider, so I have presupposed nothing, omitted technical discussion that wouldn't be helpful, avoided topics that only professional philosophers or physicists would be interested in, and haven't been shy about using helpful analogies and metaphors. It is possible to get a qualitative understanding of the physical theories discussed here, and the reasoning that led to them, without going all the way into the weeds with the number crunching, experiments, and empirical reasoning it took to produce them. That doesn't mean that it is easy, however. The philosophical ideas involved are difficult and abstract and quite beautiful. I hope they will leave you with an appetite for more, and if they do, there is a whole treasure chest of books that immerse you in different aspects of the subject that I can heartily recommend. Chapter 1. Time Until Newton. The Invention of Time. Until the late 4th century BCE, when people wanted to talk about a past event, they had various more or less roundabout ways of locating it in time. They could relate it to some landmark occurrence, like a famous battle or solar eclipse. It could be dated by giving the name of the holder of an annual office of state. You could say, for example, that something happened when so-and-so was chief magistrate. In kingdoms, it was common to use the coronation year of the monarch. A child could be born in the 5th year of Alexander the Great, or the 4th year of Nabonidus. One could combine the two, saying, for example, that something happened in the spring of the year when King Hammurabi destroyed the city of Mari, or in the 3rd year of King Enlil-bani before the Great Dust Storm. The idea is to use named eras and publicly known events as points of reference to narrow down the location of an event in time. It's the same kind of thing you do at a family dinner when you try to work out when Shireen went through her wearing ski gloves to bed phase. It was while we were still living at the lake, before we had the blue Volvo, right? The summer we all played Zim-Zam. There are obvious limitations to the method. It relies on common knowledge of the landmark events you are using as points of reference. No one outside your family would be helped by knowing that something happened the summer you were playing Zim-Zam, for example. Since common knowledge of public events varied from one area to another, so too would the dating and placing systems in use. This method was parochial by its nature. So long as most communication was local, this wasn't too much of a problem. But as soon as people started having commerce with folks who live at a geographical distance, its limitations became glaring. It is non-trivial to renegotiate a common system of temporal reference whenever meeting people who come from a different city or state. It was, moreover, both cumbersome and imprecise.